intelligencesquared.com.
I wanted to ask Alan a question. Sorry if I've mispronounced your name, by the way. Dom Antony very lightly touched on it, but in a society where we take the best bits out of religion, and especially looking at theocratic countries around the world today and the model that they've set us, who gets to decide which are the good bits and which are the bad bits?
Very good. I'm going to take them in threes. We have a question up in that's exactly right. And then if that microphone could go, the gentleman over here.
Yeah, hi. I voted against the motion not because I think that we should believe in God or that we should have religion, but because I'm opposed to both of those propositions. And I expected that we'd have someone on the panel who would be opposed to religion and opposed to God, and we haven't really heard that this evening. And what we've seen, that Alain and Grayson both admitted that the real aim of his book is to persuade secular atheists like myself and not to persuade the religious God-botherers like you guys. And I'm not persuaded, but I'm opposed because I'm opposed to religion and I'm opposed to God. And so my question is, what would you, my belief is that if you have these religious...
Sorry, your question, not your belief.
I don't have a question, sorry.
I have a really simple question. If you, Mr. Antony, if you don't believe in religion and the mechanisms of religion, why do you take the money?
Sorry, do we understand this question?
Your opening statement was you take money from collections at church. Why do you take the money then if you don't believe you need the religion?
I'm afraid you probably...
Sorry.
Am I sorry?
Why don't you start?
Well, no, he said Anthony.
Yeah, but there was also a question to Alain.
So there's a question, there's who decides, Alain, there's the question of the collection. Anthony, Alain.
Yeah. Look, I think for atheists, the thing that is most difficult about religion is the idea of a central authority. And it's impossible for me, and I think impossible for most atheists. We've simply gone beyond this. We live in a world where knowledge is incredibly complex, multi-centered. We're never going to get back to the unanimity of the Middle Ages. That's simply not going to be possible in Western Christendom, say. So I believe that essentially we're going to come to certain conclusions ourselves, and what I'm advocating is not some central authority telling us what to think. No one likes to be told what to think. That's not a side of religion that interests me. What I'm interested in is, as it were, the ritualistic, communal, organic side of religion, the side that wants to boss you around and tell you exactly what the moral commandments are. That's not appealing to me, and I don't think it's probably not appealing to Grayson. I don't know, but that's not what one feels interested in or nostalgic for when looking at religious art.
What is it then that you want?
Well, for example, it's the idea of goodness. You see, the aspiration towards goodness is very appealing.
But
the aspiration towards morality, but there's a huge difference. This is what philosophy, ethical philosophy, is built on. There's an enormous difference between the aspiration to goodness and the certainty that you know what it is.
But you don't need religion for goodness, surely.
No, you don't need religion for any of this. What I'm saying is that religion is a particularly evolved, crystal clear example of certain tendencies that the secular world might want to learn from and be inspired by. Of course, you can get community from other areas, you can get morality from other areas, you can get good art from other areas. No one's disputing that. I'm simply saying that within religion, you see particularly good examples of something. So the example of religion for atheists helps us to look at our own society and see where certain gaps are.
So would that be your reply to the non-question from the secular humanists on neither? Would it, in other words, be that actually you agree that it doesn't need religion, but religion...
It doesn't need religion, but this... I mean, Hitchens is not here, but perhaps he's sent our friend. And, this idea that everything in religion is bad, everything is corrupted, is clearly wrong. And I think this is the problem of the new atheism, that it just went too far. It insisted that the whole thing was corrupt because clearly certain bits were. And so, no, I can't agree with that.
Anthony, do you want to respond?
Well, yeah, I respond to the idea of keeping the collection because it's a free gift from the people who listen to me, and they want me to continue to live and to pay for it. And to do that, they very kindly give me a collection. And I can assure you it's not that much. Every piece of clothing I have has been given to me, including the shoes. So I'm not that well. So, yeah, I take your point.
Very good. I think that was an acknowledgement. More questions from the floor. There's a gentleman right at the back in the white shirt, and then 3 rows ahead in the center here. And given our trouble with roving mics, I will group them by place as well, and then we'll then go to this table here in the brown there. Exactly.
Good evening. I still believe in good old Karl Marx about religion being opium for the people, and every day, whenever I listen to religious people and PR exercise like this, I am more and more convinced about this. Also,
do you have a question?
Yeah, of course I have a good question. When finally religion is going to be put aside? And another thing, why, for example, the debate wasn't that world actually needs God but does not need religion and does not need crooked people that occasionally, I mean very often are found in this organized religion. Thank you.
I'm not sure if we caught exactly the question. The question was, does God need religion?
The question is that actually the God does not need religion, especially not organized religion.
Okay, God does not need organized religion, surely, is the question. And then we have, jump over here, yes?
Hello. I think it's terribly dull if this becomes just a debate about definitions, but I think Intelligence Squared has gone for a catchy title, which has got in the way of a lot of the discussion tonight. And I think what the proposition, if I call it a proposition, are talking about is that the world needs some form of structure, some sort of moral structure, which may have rituals or whatever attached to it, art and all of that sort of thing, and does not need God. And the title has got in the way because the opposition are debating, is there a need for religion, and you can't take bits of religion, so you're being put into a false sort of position. And we're rather sort of reenacting that religion versus science sort of argument, which doesn't meet in the middle because we're arguing different sorts of things. And I think we perhaps need to recast this a little.
Okay.
And it would make
The
life
question
easier
is,
for
do we
everyone.
need to recast this? And then...
Hello. I probably should declare myself that I speak as an atheist, but I come from what I can only describe, I'm a cultural Catholic, and Anthony might dislike that as a concept, but it's kind of undeniable that I have a great understanding of Catholicism and spent my life in that culture, and it was very formative to me. And so I'm an atheist who is interested, who is friendly both towards God and religion. And my question is, what do the panel think about the idea that what both religion and the idea of God do to promote in a society an idea of a service to something greater than yourself, even if it's not clearly defined?
Okay.
And I really agree with my previous speaker about the problem with the definitions.
Okay. Thank you very much. I wonder who wants to take those.
Take the first one.
The first one seemed to be just your point, Anne, yes.
I think actually it's a great title because it really highlights what matters. It seems to me that the title is a bit like, I suppose a bunch of, are there any social workers here tonight? It's a bit like if a bunch of social workers went into a family and took a child out of the family and put the child in a care home or orphanage or whatever, and then had a conference. Isn't this working?
Yes, you have to speak a bit louder.
And then had a conference, as if a bunch of social workers took a child out of a family, put the child in a care home, and then had a conference on a child needs computers even if it doesn't need its parents, and had, endless debates about whether it's better to have books rather than be online, or whether he should be out there kicking a football, or whether, what does your brain patterns if you're in front of a computer. For goodness sake, this child needs to go back to his parents. That is what really matters. And that's why I like this title, actually.
Yeah, but Anne, we're addressing atheists. You're talking as if people believe God, and like there's this thing. Atheists don't even acknowledge the existence of God. So we haven't put aside something that doesn't exist. It doesn't, It's like, you know, you're talking as if we've got God and gone like that. He wasn't there to pick up and go like
Grayson,
that with.
But the question is...
Religion was...
You atheists have such certainty, don't you? Such certainty. How do you know God doesn't exist? The real question here...
For reasons of this debate, I'm pretty sure he doesn't.
How can you be so certain of something you don't know? The question is not whether the child needs computers if it doesn't need its whether or not it doesn't need its parents. The question is it needs its parents. And that's why I like this title, because it comes right to the heart of it.
Anthony, would you
Can I come back to that question, you know, about the title? In one sense, I agree with you. But I think what I want to argue, and I think Anne does as well, is that the order of society, how it needs order, I have no doubt about that. But what is important is that that order has its own authority, its own authenticity. And to me, religion without God is not authentic. It's playing at it. Secular society should be able to, and I think can, produce order with its own authenticity as to why. It may be military dictatorship, whatever. But if you're talking about religion, let's be honest enough to say to have religion that is authentic, you need God. So God comes first.
Okay, no pick and mix. Alain.
Again, you see, I mean, I think I start from this position, like Grayson, that I don't believe, and I find a certain cynicism in your approach. You're essentially saying, either you join us, and you join us properly, or you guys are on your own. You sort it out, and you're not borrowing anything from our approach. Don't come to us with interest in our ethical system. Don't pine for our attitudes to art. In fact, we never really believe that anyway. We believe in this purer relationship. The fact that we belong to churches, that's actually not the point. So you've retreated. You've ceded a huge amount of ground. You've ceded Chartres Cathedral. You've ceded Titian. You've ceded the Ten Commandments, and all you've got left is your relationship with God. And you're telling all of us, well, listen, if you guys don't believe, don't try and get in on our territory. And my answer is, my answer is, for many of us, 70% of us, it is not possible to believe. Not because we're closed, but I think, and I believe with Grayson, rather psychoanalytically, because we didn't have an early experience of God. All surveys show that essentially you believe in God because of a certain kind of relationship with your own parents. If you don't have that, what do you have? You can have a tremendous interest in all sorts of things that religions get up to, and I think it's rather cynical of you to say, get off our territory, you either swallow the whole thing or you're having none of it.
Okay, there is picking. Sorry, can we take another couple of points from the floor? You'll have your closing speeches. There's a point here.
Okay, I'm going to start with an observation, and that will justify my question. Presumably the aim of this conference this evening is to justify your positions. Is that correct? Otherwise we wouldn't be debating. Presumably the aim of the conversation is to justify your positions, otherwise we wouldn't be debating. Okay, perfect. In a modern democratic state, governments have to justify their decisions, so justifications are incredibly important. Let me now carry on, go back to what we've discussed. We all agree on religion. You look like
Can we have a question?
Yeah, it's coming. You have to give me 2 seconds. We agree on the existence of religion, but not on the existence of God. Now, in Alan's point, he agrees in religion, which is he claims a secular inheritance of a religious set of values. I'm coming. Wait, bear with me. Can you justify the existence of religion if you don't have a God? And that's relevant for modern societies because democracies have to justify their decisions without recourse to a God, and yet they've inherited religious values.
That was very nice, very good, clear question. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm worried that my question is now slightly similar to this gentleman's. If I understood you correctly, Mr. de Botton, Mr. Perry, you actually disagree in terms that, Mr. de Botton, you believe that it's important that we inherit the religious rituals, that they do come from a history, whereas, Mr. Perry, I understood that you were suggesting that we can create these new positive values without that. So I just wanted you to comment on that and what you had to say. Thanks.
I think, given the very advanced time, those were both excellent and important questions, and we've been over some of that ground. I will ask you to respond to those questions in your summings up.